Hey everyone, and welcome back to Dwayne and Nidia's Kitchen. And today we're going to do something a little different for me, since I'm mostly someone who likes to cook savory foods. I'm going to be making one of my favorite, recently discovered, one of my favorite holiday and treat type thing. It's Buttercrunch Toffee. And I've only made it a few times, but the recipe was so simple and it came out so delicious that I want to share it with you. And let me tell you first what you need in order to make Buttercrunch Toffee at home. Don't need much. So here's what you'll need to make Buttercrunch Toffee. Not just Buttercrunch Toffee, one of the best Buttercrunch Toffees I've ever had. You'll need 2 sticks of butter. I use salted butter. It just tastes better and you don't have to add anything else. 1 bag of semi-sweet or milk or dark chocolate chips. Your preference on what kind of chocolate. I'm going with the semi-sweet chocolate morsels. You'll need 1 cup of granulated sugar and 3 tablespoons of water, which I've already poured into this little ramekin. So that's all you'll need. In order to make the toffee, outside of the ingredients, you will need a half-size cookie sheet. And in this case, I have put a piece of parchment paper down. I'm using the unbleached parchment paper. And this will serve as the bed for the toffee when you pour it out. Again, the toffee is made on the stovetop. We don't need to use the oven at all. And outside of these few ingredients, we're good to go. All right, so we've made it over to the stove, and here's where we're going to make our Buttercrunch Toffee. I'm using this pan because it makes it easier to get it on the video as opposed to a regular pot. I've made it in a pot before. A pot works great, but I think you'll be able to see this easier. I'm going to put my 2 sticks of butter into this pan, and I'm going to make sure that I start off with the pan on medium. And here is my 2nd stick of butter. I'm going to melt that down a little bit. All right, so I've got my 2 sticks of butter in here, medium. I'm going to let the butter melt down. Before I get too much into this, it's probably best to say you're going to need a little bit of patience in order to do the toffee because it's not something you can rush. So I'm going to melt down this butter. As you can see, it melts really, really quickly. You don't want it to burn or anything. You just want it to melt down. It's starting to sizzle. And here's what it looks like. Butter melts very, very quickly, as you know. And it really is a butter crunch toffee. Some people add nuts or can top it with nuts. I am only topping it with the chocolate because the taste of this Buttercrunch Toffee is outstanding. You probably don't even have to put the chocolate on that top layer if you just like toffee plain. All right, so as this butter melts down, once it's almost completely melted down, I'm going to add the 1 cup of granulated sugar. I can add that now. And at the same time, 3 tablespoons of water. And now I will raise this heat to about a medium high. And I'm going to start incorporating it all. Now remember, the sugar has to completely melt down. The butter is just about gone, just a couple of little slivers of it. Still feels very granular and grainy because the sugar hasn't dissolved yet or cooked down yet. And this is basically your toffee. Your toffee is going to come out of this pan once the process of caramelization occurs. You can see it's completely incorporated now. No more butter. It's all melted. Still, a lot of the sugar has not melted yet. I can feel it as I stir. Just so you know, I'm using a completely non-stick pan. This is that Anyplace 2 pan that I just recently got. I'm using a nice hard plastic spoon that's also made for non-stick surfaces. And the key to making toffee, the key to caramelizing this amount of sugar with butter is really to keep things moving. You don't want to let this stop. You don't want to let any of this burn. You don't want to let any of the sugar burn. And that's why I said this happens when it happens. There's no like it takes X minutes or this many minutes. You can see it's starting to boil up now. I'm going to lower this to a medium. See, here it comes. When you start to get that boil, it starts to feel like candy. And I'm stirring. I'm stirring it up. See what that looks like? It's foaming. And I almost don't feel any sugar granules anymore because they've completely melted down. And this beautiful, foamy, delicious smelling right now already concoction that's in this pan feels light and frothy, as you can see. Smells amazing. And this is when you have to continuously stir from each side and from underneath. You keep stirring and you keep stirring. So I'll continue to pay attention to this and I'll bring you back just as we're about to notice some of the colorization and caramelization, because we are going to watch this change into its toffee color soon. GoPro, stop recording. So you can see it continues to boil, and I love this, the way it feels. You can see it pulling away from the side of the pan as I stir it. Nothing is sticking. Everything is going along as planned. Hasn't started to caramelize just yet. And when it turns and it turns quickly, and you'll have this beautiful, almost like copper colored, penny copper colored, start to appear as you stir. And it'll incorporate, and with each stir it'll get darker and darker as everything caramelizes. It just looks beautiful. As you can see, this is going really, really well. And as I said, be patient with it. It will turn and it will be ready when it's time. I do have it on medium. I don't want to burn anything. I find medium works well, medium to medium high sometimes. You want to keep that temperature consistent. Feels so light. It's beautiful. It's starting to turn. I can see the edges starting to turn into a very light brown. You can see it. You can see it starting on the edges where it's getting hotter and hotter, and where the caramelization process, as it's known, is starting to totally take over. Look at the color. And it will get darker. It will actually get darker. And watch how you don't stop stirring. You have to keep the stirring going on. I still have it on my medium. It's getting darker as we speak. You'll know when you get to the perfect color. It'll look like that brick color almost when you start to turn it and stir it. And it does reach a point where you get as much colorization and you get as much of that color as you're going to get. It doesn't really continue to do that unless you go down to the burning phase, which we don't want to do. And before we do what we do next, as you can see, it's looking beautiful. You know, for a long time I avoided even trying to make toffee because I thought that a pan would be really hard to clean after this kind of use. You know, I thought making toffee would make a mess out of the pan. It absolutely does not. Okay, look at this color now. It looks like the color of toffee, the color of coffee. Toffee. It's got that brick looking brown color. And now that I've achieved this and I'm turning it and I'm seeing it just a slight smidge darker with each turn, I know I'm pretty close to the end here. So I'm going to turn this off. I'll show you what we do with this once I get back to the pan, where I'm going to pour this out and let it cool. GoPro. Here it is. Just pour this while it's still hot right onto the parchment paper. Don't scrape the bottom of this pan just in case there are any burnt spots. There it is. Just let it go like that. It's very, very hot. And like I said, I thought this would be really hard to clean. Immediately throw it into the sink and fill it with water. And then just leave it there for a bit. You'll be shocked at how easy it is to clean up after making this toffee. I'll just leave the water in there. Okay. Here we have the hot toffee, and this is how we top it. I've just opened my bag of semi-sweet chocolate chips. While this is hot, put the chocolate chips all over the surface. You're gonna use this whole bag. That's what this recipe calls for. You're gonna put all of these chocolate chips try to spread them evenly and through the middle. And now, using a trick that I saw someone on the internet do, I'm not gonna put this in the oven. I'm just gonna cover this pan with this pan. And this alone should retain and keep enough heat to melt that chocolate. We'll give this about a minute. All right, so I've covered this for about, not more than a couple of minutes, maybe 2-3 minutes at most. I'm gonna take this off and see if the heat looks like they are melting. You can use a spatula, but the back of a spoon works just as well. And I am going to cover the surface. I've made the toffee where the toffee actually came out lighter and more beigey. This toffee I think is going to be even better because I let it caramelize longer. But there will be a definite difference between the toffee layer, which will be on the bottom, and the chocolate layer, which is on top. Bring that chocolate over to the edges because you want to make sure that everything is covered with the chocolate all the way to the edge. It's okay if it goes over the edge a little bit too. All the way to the edges. And then I usually just swirl it like this to give it some texture. And there you have it. The next step is to put this in the refrigerator and let it cool for about 30 minutes. So let's get this into the refrigerator and I'll see you back in 30 minutes. Okay, I just took it out of the refrigerator. And you can see, here it is. The sheet pan looks great. And it is completely solid. The toffee and the chocolate are completely solid and ready to go. They've been refrigerated. Let me show you how I break this off into chunks. Now, this is the holiday season right now that I'm filming this in. And I'm going to actually make this toffee and kind of give it away. So you want to chunk it into chunks, and then I'm going to put it in, like, festive holiday tins and give them away. Although we'll always preserve a few for home, but let me show you what you do. This is, again, on parchment paper, so it should lift beautifully. See that? And it comes out like one big tile. And it doesn't really stick to the paper at all. Rather than trying to chop this, what I do, it's a little trick here. I use either a wooden spoon or a plastic spoon, and I just put it under here, give it a tap. And a piece of it breaks off, and then I'm left with a couple of pieces of toffee. Now you can decide how big you want these pieces to go, or how big you want them to be. And here's a couple more pieces. As I said before, this is plain chocolate covered toffee. Let me show you the toffee color, and beautiful, and the dark chocolate on top, or semi-sweet dark chocolate. And again, this spoon just serves as a lever to try to help me to break these into chunks. Some people like big chunks, some people like small chunks. It makes quite a bit. Just 2 sticks of butter, 1 cup of sugar. This one stuck a little bit to the nougat on the end, but again, it peels right off. It even went to the edge of this pan. Some pieces will break off smaller, some big. I like it when it does that because some people don't want a big hunk. They just want a little piece. And after you break this all apart, you can store it in an airtight container. I'm doing this basically just to kind of show you what it's like. And I'm going to continue to break these and put them away on this plate, and then store them away in containers as gifts. but this is Buttercrunch Toffee. But before ending the video, I'm going to take a crunch. Positively delicious. Wow, this is dangerously delicious. Oh my, really good. Thanks again, Dwayne Nidia, Food, Travel, and Fun. And thank you for joining us on our videos and on our adventures. And again, all the support. Thank you so much. And if this comes out soon, hopefully it's before the holidays. If not, then I hope you enjoyed your holiday season. And again, Buttercrunch Toffee. Try it, you'll love it.